feel like I'm getting hammered.
Caitlin Clark has battled tough opponents on the court, but nothing frustrates fans more than inconsistent and questionable officiating. From blatant no calls to unnecessary technicals, it's starting to feel like the refs have a personal grudge. Is this just intense competition, or is there something more going on? Every time Clark steps onto the floor, the energy in the arena is electric. Fans eagerly wait for her deep threes and stunning assists, but instead of focusing on her game, she's forced to watch out not just for defenders, but for referees making questionable calls. The once roaring crowd often shifts its frustration toward the officials, booing decisions that simply don't make sense.
Indiana leads by 11 with 5:48 remaining in the...
So, what's really going on? Are these just bad calls, or is a pattern of bias starting to emerge? We're breaking down 10 of the most outrageous, game-changing calls that left fans, analysts, and even players in disbelief. And trust me, when we get to number 7, you won't believe how obvious it gets. Let's start with one of the most ridiculous no-calls in recent memory. It was September 22nd, the start of the playoffs. Indiana Fever vs Connecticut Sunday. Tensions were high, and all eyes were on Caitlin Clark, the league's most electrifying rookie. The stage was set for a thrilling showdown, but instead, fans witnessed one of the worst officiating blunders of the season. Just minutes into the game, Dejonai Carrington lunged for the ball but ended up striking Clark square in the eye. The impact left Clark momentarily dazed, blinking as she tried to regain focus. The crowd waited for the whistle, and waited, and waited. But it never came.
Harassed by Carrington, finds Boston. Clark gets hit in the face by Carrington and is down.
Fans erupted in outrage, expecting at least a foul, if not a flagrant, but the refs stayed silent. Play continued as if nothing had happened. Meanwhile, Clark, visibly affected by the hit, struggled to find her rhythm. She finished the first half with an uncharacteristic 1-4-9 from the field, including 0-4-6 from beyond the arc. A nasty bruise began forming around her eye, a physical reminder of yet another missed call.
No one else has seen this angle. I'm calling her in, and I'm saying to her, I need answers.
This was just the first of many moments that left fans wondering what the officials were thinking. Was this just tough playoff basketball, or was there something more at play? Either way, the message was clear: Clark wasn't getting any superstar treatment. If anything, she was on the receiving end of some of the worst no-calls the league had to offer.
Clark trying to get around Mabry. Clark to the rim, reverses it home through the...
Fans erupted in outrage, flooding social media with demands for accountability from the league. One furious viewer called it the worst officiated basketball game of all time, while another slammed the refereeing as an absolute embarrassment. But despite the growing frustration, Caitlin Clark did what she does best, kept her focus and kept fighting. And the biased officiating didn't stop there. Throughout the game, Clark endured relentless physicality, held, shoved, and repeatedly hit, yet the whistle remained silent. No calls, no protection, just an expectation for her to play through it all. Just look at this moment when Marina Mabry aggressively defended Clark as she fought for her first postseason bucket.
Got the heavy contact.
Even the game's commentators couldn't ignore the excessive contact, calling out the blatant fouls. But the referees remained completely indifferent. Clark, however, refused to let the missed calls define her. She found other ways to contribute, proving once again why she's one of the toughest competitors in the league. But this wasn't just about one game, it was a glaring example of how officiating can shape outcomes and, more importantly, put players at risk. Then came another moment of shocking physicality that left fans questioning the line between aggressive defense and outright dangerous play. This time, it was an August 28th matchup against the Connecticut Sun. Everything seemed normal until Alyssa Thomas bulldozed through Clark, delivering a brutal shoulder check that sent the rookie crashing to the floor.
There for Alyssa Thomas.
Yeah, they're not going to look at this. They might.
It's got the fans here.
The arena gasped in disbelief. The hit was brutal, yet somehow, the officials only called a common foul. Fans were furious. That's not basketball, one person tweeted, while another called it a cheap shot, leading with the shoulder. The overwhelming consensus? It was a blatant flagrant foul, and the failure to call it only deepened concerns about WNBA officiating. But even after enduring relentless physicality, Caitlin Clark refused to let it shake her confidence. She shook off the hit, got back on her feet, and went straight to work. Her ability to bounce back and stay locked in was a testament to her mental toughness. Despite the blows, Clark kept making an impact, proving once again why she's one of the most determined athletes in the league. Just when it seemed like Clark had battled through every challenge, a new controversy emerged, this time from an unexpected source. Picture this: a timeout, a fired-up rookie rallying the fans, and then out of nowhere a veteran stepping in with a blatant shove. How would the referees respond? The August 18th matchup against the Seattle Storm had already been an intense battle. With the game nearing its climax, Clark stood near the Seattle bench, hyping up the crowd, feeding off the electric atmosphere. Then suddenly, Skylar Diggins-Smith made her move. Without warning, Diggins-Smith stepped up behind Clark and delivered a shoulder check, forcefully pushing her aside. The arena's excitement instantly shifted to stunned gasps, quickly followed by a wave of angry boos. But once again, the referees let it slide: no foul, no warning, just silence. The moment immediately sparked a debate about sportsmanship and fairness. Fans flooded social media, demanding answers. How is this not a foul? One asked. Another questioned why some players seem to get away with blatant aggression while Clark continues to be scrutinized for the slightest actions.
Hey, by now I'm sure you've seen Skylar Diggins assault Caitlin Clark after Indiana blew out Seattle.
Yet, while Diggins-Smith's push went completely unnoticed by officials, Clark's own displays of emotion and passion on the court have been met with quick technicals and warnings. So the question remains, was this just another case of inconsistent officiating, or is there a deeper issue within the WNBA? That same intense August 18th showdown against the Seattle Storm took another turn. With 7:14 remaining in the third quarter, Caitlin Clark missed a shot and, in a brief moment of frustration, lightly tapped the padding of the basketball hoop. Before anyone could even process what had happened, the referee's whistle rang out: technical foul. The call sent shockwaves through the arena. Fans were immediately divided: was this truly unsportsmanlike behavior or just a player reacting to a tough moment? The debate raged on, even as Clark later explained her reaction. But the damage was already done.
Caitlin Clark gets hit with a technical.
Despite the questionable call, Clark didn't let it rattle her. She stayed locked in, determined to lead her team to victory. While others might have dwelled on the frustration, she responded the only way she knows how: by letting her game do the talking.
Technical for basically being mad at myself because I missed the three and then I went and hit the backboard, and he told me it was disrespectful to the game of basketball.
Clark didn't just move on, she took over. Ignoring Diggins-Smith's shove and shaking off the technical foul, she stayed locked in, keeping her energy high and her focus sharp. The result? A dominant 17-point win for the Fever, with Clark putting up an impressive 23 points. But here's where it gets really interesting: are these reactions consistently penalized, or is Clark being singled out? Let's take a closer look at how referees have handled similar situations for other players in the league. Are the rules being applied fairly, or is there a clear double standard at play?
Nothing to do with my team, it had nothing to do with their reffing, had nothing to do with other team, it was just because I'm a...
Technical fouls were just the beginning. As the Indiana Fever faced off against the Las Vegas Aces, a split-second collision ignited outrage and raised a chilling question: how far is too far when it comes to physical play in the WNBA? September 11th at Gainbridge Fieldhouse, the energy in the arena was electric until it suddenly wasn't. Jackie Young's hand struck Caitlin Clark's face, sending the rookie stumbling back, momentarily shaken. The crowd held its breath, waiting for the call: common foul.
On your wedding in that group.
Kennedy Carter nearly picks off the pass, and Diana Taurasi, they'll count the bucket. And one coming up for DT.
The reaction was immediate. Boos echoed through the arena, disbelief spread across social media, and fans were left questioning what they had just witnessed. But Clark, as always, refused to dwell on it. She shook it off and got back in the game. Yet, the moment lingered, a glaring example of the fine line between tough defense and reckless play. Clark's resilience was undeniable, but one question remained: how much more was she expected to endure?
Clark, the hesitation, working inside the reverse. Oh, and took a big hit there on Jackie Young.
May 22, 2024, the Indiana Fever were locked in a fierce battle with the Seattle Storm. As the first half wound down, tensions ran high. Caitlin Clark, always aggressive, drove hard to the basket. She absorbed contact once, then again, and a third time, still, no whistle. The crowd, fully locked in, erupted not in celebration, but in sheer disbelief. How was that not a foul? On the sidelines, Fever head coach Christy Sides had seen enough. Frustration boiled over as she spoke out after the game. "We've just got to get better with the officiating. We've got to get some of those calls." Her words weren't just about frustration, they were a direct call for fairness, consistency, and the respect Clark deserved on the court. But a bigger question loomed: was this just another missed call, or was Clark being officiated differently than everyone else? As the season went on, that question became harder to ignore. One controversy faded, only for another to take its place. A pattern was emerging: Caitlin Clark at the center of jaw-dropping moments, but not for the reasons you'd expect. This time, it wasn't about her record-breaking performances or game-changing shots. It was about the calls, or the lack of them. June 19, Washington Mystics versus Indiana Fever. The tension in the arena was thick. The stakes were high. Clark made her move, the defense closed in, and then it happened. Stephanie Dolson stepped up, made contact, and swatted the ball away. The crowd held its breath, waiting for the inevitable whistle. But it never came.
It's left. Goes around to Gumake, drives baseline, his shot rejected by Izzy McMagor. And all of a sudden, we're pretty close. This has been as close as it's been.
Clark turns on the Jets. Clark to the rim and blocked. Oh, Dolson got back. Clark thought there was a foul.
Confusion spread like wildfire. Fans were outraged. Social media exploded with disbelief. How does an obvious foul like this get ignored? Letting the game flow is one thing, but this felt different.
Well, Clark got a pretty good.
Some argue this is just part of being a rookie, that Clark is simply facing the standard welcome to the league treatment. But others see something more concerning, a pattern of blatant no-calls that seem to follow her every game. One fan put it bluntly: an elbow to the face is a no-call, but Clark hitting the post is a technical? The inconsistency is piling up. Now, let's rewind to one of Clark's earliest moments in the WNBA, a game that set the tone for everything that followed. May 18th, Indiana Fever vs. New York Liberty. Still adjusting to the pro level, Clark moved across the court with her signature confidence. Then, boom. Breanna Stewart set a screen so hard it sent shockwaves through the crowd. The impact was undeniable. The collision was obvious. But once again, silence from the officials. Clark stumbled, visibly shaken, as fans watched in disbelief. If this isn't a foul, then what is? Social media erupted with heated debates. Yes, screens are part of basketball, but where's the line? When does a strong pick become excessive contact? And more importantly, why does it feel like Clark isn't getting the same calls as everyone else? The more it happens, the harder it is to ignore. This isn't just bad luck or tough defense. It's about consistency, or in Clark's case, the lack of it. The question remains: is this just rookie treatment, or is the league deliberately letting things slide when it comes to Caitlin Clark? Clark's mental strength has been tested time and time again. But nothing could have prepared her for what happened on May 20th. What should have been a routine play turned into a moment that had fans and analysts questioning whether WNBA officiating was failing her. The game against the Connecticut Sun started like any other. But then, disaster struck. As Clark fought through a screen, her ankle rolled awkwardly. In an instant, she was on the floor, grimacing in pain. The entire arena held its breath.
That they can stop Caitlin and that they're the better team.
Oh, Caitlin goes down.
Surely, the officials would step in. But once again, silence. No foul. No stoppage. Nothing. Clark clutched her ankle as the game continued around her. Fans couldn't believe what they were witnessing. social media erupted. If a hard screen resulting in a rolled ankle wasn't enough to earn a call, then what would? The issue wasn't just fairness, it was player safety. But Clark, being Clark, didn't let it stop her. Through obvious discomfort, she fought on, refusing to let the injury take her out of the game. This moment, painful as it was, showcased exactly what makes her special. Not just her skill, but her grit. Clark isn't playing for highlight reels. She's playing to win.
Now, what little girl wants to grow up and play in a league where you're targeted like that? How do you sit here and profess and demand that everyone take women's sports seriously when you can't even take it seriously enough to not act like a junior high queen on the court? It's stupid. It's so dumb.
10 controversial calls. 10 unforgettable moments. From brutal body checks to blatant no calls, Caitlin Clark has faced it all. Yet, through every challenge, she's proven why she's the future of the WNBA. These weren't just bad calls, they were moments that sparked outrage, ignited debates, and forced fans to question the integrity of WNBA officiating. But here's what really matters: Clark's resilience never wavered. No matter how many hits she took, how many whistles stayed silent, or how unfair the treatment seemed, she adapted. She found ways to shine, even when the odds and the referees seemed stacked against her. So now, the bigger question remains: what does this mean for the future of the WNBA? How does the league balance fair play while keeping the intensity that makes basketball so exciting? We've broken down the calls. We've seen the hits. We've watched Clark fight through it all, and now, it's your turn to weigh in. Is the WNBA failing to protect its biggest star, or is this just part of the game? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss out. Click the video on the screen. We'll see you in the next one.